The silent CEO, the executive floor of Bennett Industries, was always empty by 10 at night. Robert Martinez had been mopping these hallways for 3 years now, and he knew every corner, every shadow. At 56, he moved a little slower than he used to. His shoulders carried the weight of raising a daughter alone. But he didn't complain. After his wife Sarah passed 5 years ago, he'd learned something about life. You keep going. For the people who need you, you just keep going. His daughter Lily was 9 now, smart as a whip with her mother's gentle smile. Every morning, he'd drive her to school before catching a few hours of sleep. Then his afternoon shift at the warehouse. Then back here, pushing a mop until 2 in the morning. Tonight felt different somehow. As Robert rounded the corner toward the executive conference room, he noticed something unusual. The lights were on, and inside, sitting perfectly still at the head of the long mahogany table, was a man in an expensive dark suit. Robert recognized him immediately. William Chen, the CEO. The man's photograph hung in the lobby downstairs, always unsmiling, always formal. The employees called him the silent CEO because he rarely spoke, even in meetings. He'd built the company from nothing 30 years ago, but nobody really knew him. Robert should have just moved on. Kept mopping, but something made him pause. The CEO wasn't working. He wasn't looking at papers or a laptop. He was just sitting there, staring at his hands. And in the quiet of that empty building, Robert could see the man's shoulders trembling slightly. Robert had seen that before, in himself, on the hard nights after Sarah died. That kind of stillness that comes before tears. He should leave. This was none of his business. But he thought of Lily, how she'd said to him just last week, "Dad, you always help people. That's what makes you special." Robert took a breath and gently knocked on the open door. The CEO looked up, startled. For a moment, his carefully composed face cracked, showing something raw underneath. Then, just as quickly, the mask returned. "I apologize," Mr. Chen said stiffly. "I'll clear out. I didn't mean to disturb your work." His accent was there, subtle but present, and something about it triggered a memory in Robert. Years ago. "Another lifetime. Daijoubu desu ka?" Robert said quietly. "Are you okay?" The effect was immediate. The CEO's eyes went wide. His mouth opened slightly. The mask fell away completely. "Nihongo wo hanashimasu ka?" "You speak Japanese?" Robert stepped into the room, still holding his mop. "Hai. Sukoshi." Yes, a little. It had been 30 years since Robert lived in Kyoto. He'd been 25, teaching English, young and full of dreams. He'd spent 2 years there, learning the language from patients, neighbors, and kind shop owners who'd correct his grammar over tea. Those had been good years, before real life called him home. Mr. Chen gestured to a chair, and this time there was something different in his eyes. Something almost desperate. "Please," he said in Japanese. "Would you sit? Just for a moment?" Robert hesitated. This wasn't right. He was the janitor. This was the CEO. But the man looked so utterly alone that Robert found himself setting his mop aside and pulling out a chair. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Mr. Chen began to speak. In Japanese, the words flowing like a river finally freed. "I don't know why I'm telling you this," he said, "but I haven't spoken Japanese with anyone in 15 years. My wife. She passed away last year. She was Japanese. We spoke Japanese at home, always. It was our language. Our private world," Robert nodded slowly. "My wife passed 5 years ago." "I understand," Mr. Chen continued, and the story poured out. How he'd built this company for his family. How success had consumed him. How his son, now 30, barely spoke to him anymore. How his daughter moved to Seattle and called once a month out of obligation. How his wife had begged him to slow down, to be present. And he'd always said, "Next year. Next year." Now next year would never come. "I sit in board meetings," Mr. Chen said, "and everyone thinks I'm thinking about strategy, about profits. But I'm remembering my wife's laugh, the way she'd make tea in the morning, how she'd speak to the flowers in our garden in Japanese, as if they could understand." "They probably could," Robert said gently. "Plants know kindness when they hear it." Mr. Chen smiled just a little. "You have children?" "A daughter, Lily. She's 9. You work here at night?" "2 jobs. 3, really? Robert shrugged. It's what needs doing. But I'm there every morning to make her breakfast. I'm there every evening to hear about her day. I don't have money. I can't give her vacations or fancy things, but I can give her time. I can give her all my time. Something shifted in Mr. Chen's expression. I had all the money in the world, he said quietly. But I never gave them time. I thought providing was enough. I thought success would make them proud. Now I eat dinner alone in a house with 7 bedrooms. Robert leaned forward. It's not too late. Your children are still here. You're still here. Maybe you can't change yesterday, but tomorrow you can call them. You can say what needs saying. What if they don't want to hear it? Then you try again the next day. And the next. You show up again and again until they see you mean it. That's what being a parent is. It's not about being perfect. It's about not giving up. Mr. Chen wiped his eyes. He was silent for a long moment. How did you get so wise? He finally asked. Robert smiled sadly. Loss teaches you. When my Sarah died, I learned what really matters. Not the bank account. Not the career. Just the people you love and the time you have with them. Everything else is just noise. They talked for another hour. About grief and regret. About second chances and small mercies. About how the heart keeps beating even when you think it might stop. Finally, Mr. Chen stood. He bowed deeply, the formal Japanese bow of profound respect. Thank you, Martinez-san. You've given me something tonight I thought I'd lost. You've given me hope. Robert stood and bowed back. We all need reminding sometimes that we're human, that we're allowed to hurt, and to try again. The next morning, Robert made Lily pancakes shaped like stars. She talked about her math test, her best friend's birthday party, a book she wanted to read. He listened to every word, soaking in her voice like sunlight. At the kitchen table, drinking instant coffee, he thought about Mr. Chen, about how money couldn't buy back time, about how the most important conversations happened in the strangest places. 3 weeks later, a new policy came down from the CEO's office. All employees received an extra paid week of family leave. The company newsletter featured a rare message from Mr. Chen. Time with family is not a luxury. It's a necessity. I learned this too late. Don't make my mistake. And attached to Robert's paycheck that week was a handwritten note in Japanese. Martinez-san, I called my son. We talked for 3 hours. I'm flying to Seattle next week to see my daughter. Thank you for reminding me what it means to be a father. Your Lily is lucky. W.C. Robert folded the note carefully and put it in his wallet, next to a photo of Sarah and Lily. That night, as he mopped the executive floor, he thought about his wife. About how she used to say that kindness costs nothing but means everything. How she believed we're all connected, no matter our titles or bank accounts. She'd been right, as always. In the morning, he'd make Lily breakfast. He'd braid her hair. He'd pack her lunch with a note that said, Dad loves you. He'd do it all again, one day at a time, and somehow, against all odds, that was enough. Sometimes wisdom comes from the most unexpected places. Not from boardrooms or corner offices, but from quiet hallways in the middle of the night. From people who know what it means to lose everything and keep going anyway. In those moments, we remember what matters. We remember that beneath our titles and our bank accounts, we're all just people, carrying our grief, hoping for connection, trying to do better, and sometimes all it takes is someone who cares enough to ask, "Are you okay?"